What is up, and welcome to the very first movie review on my channel. My name is Michael, and welcome to my movie corner. But yeah, so without further ado, let's dive straight into the spin wheel. So as you can see, to whatever side of me, I'm not too sure. I'll figure that out in editing. You will see a screen recording of me showing off all 66 potential movies that I will be reviewing for the very first one, and then I will be spinning that wheel. And yeah, it's going to be that movie. So yeah, the very first movie that I am going to be reviewing is the Mrs. Brown's Boys movie. So this one's going to be very complicated to do as a kind of first review film because this is an Irish movie. This is a film based off of an Irish TV show based off of an Irish book. So it has a lot more typical Irish humor that only people who grew up in around Ireland would fully understand compared to the likes of people in America. That being said, there is someone on TikTok that I have seen who pulled a random Christmas special out of a bargain bin and watched it and loved it. And I can definitely say that a lot of people who watch just random clips on YouTube of the Mrs. Brown boys, will love it. So I haven't seen this film since it came out in movie theaters, and I know that I didn't have too much of a like towards it, but I'm willing to give it another go as the very first review. And I'm actually kind of happy that this was the one that came up, so that way I can get this one out of the way as quickly as possible. So without further ado, it's time to dive into the Mrs. Brown's Boys movie review. So I just finished watching the Mrs. Brown's Boys films. I'm just decided to throw this in as kind of a new thing for the review. Where after I watch the movie before I actually script the review, I'll give you my overall, my thoughts fresh from seeing the film. And I didn't like it when it came out in 2014, 2015, and I sure as hell don't like it now. Uh, it's it's very easy to predict how things are going to go with this. It definitely doesn't feel like a film that came out in 2014 slash 2015. More feels like a movie that came out in the early 2000s with how predictable the plot and the story is, and the fact that it leaves everything essentially to the last half hour, um, type of thing. So yeah, it's definitely would not be in my top 10 list. That's for sure. But now it's time to actually get into the proper review. So that bit is actually scripted and not looking like this. Mrs. Brown's Boys was originally a radio play back in the early 1990s, written by Brendan O'Carroll, and was on the Irish radio station RTE. Brendan then turned it into a series of books. The first book, The Mammy, was then turned into a movie called Agnes Brown. The film was released in 1999, with the main character being played by Angelica Hudson. After the success of the film, Brendan made a series of stories based off of the books where O'Carroll played Agnes and casted friends and family to play the other characters for the straight-to-DVD series, which is now Mrs. Brown Boys, the original series. They then turned those into stage plays. After some time, they did a sort of reboot in 2009 and is continued in Christmas and New Year specials. So the movie has an A and a B plot. The A plot is Mrs. Brown gets a letter from the revenue stating that her grandmother still owes £96 in tax. And when she goes to pay for it, it turns out adjusted for inflation, Mrs. Brown owes €4 million. The B plot is a shady politician is essentially doing shady business with Russian gangs, trying to shut down all the stalls on Moore Street so that way he can open up a new shopping center there. So how does he try to get rid of the stalls? Well, he offers to buy them out for €30,000 each. So when Mrs. Brown is trying to figure out how to pay back the €4 million, one of her friends says that her grandmother was there the day that Mrs. Brown's grandmother actually paid the £96. So now it's a race against time to try and find that receipt in order to waive the 4 million euro.
The characters in the Mrs. Brown's Boys movie are the same as they are in the TV show, with a few newer characters of sorts, as some of them do appear in the Mrs. Brown's Boys book series. Not much changes with the characters in terms of development, as the movie is essentially a glorified episode of the TV series, just with a bigger budget. So there's not a lot to go over with this movie review, unfortunately, as the movie sort of relies on you being a fan of the Mrs. Brown's Boys TV show to get some of the jokes. Unfortunately, I didn't laugh a lot during this, as I felt that the script was struggling with being a serious and a comedy movie. It's not hard to understand why this movie got a 6% on Rotten Tomatoes after seeing the movie. It was a movie I didn't enjoy seeing back in 2014, and it wasn't one I enjoyed watching today. So I would give this movie a 4 out of 10.
So, where did this movie rank on my top 10 list? It doesn't. It doesn't even crack the top 50. It actually cracks somewhere in the top 10 of the worst movies that I have ever seen. So, thank you all for watching this very first review. I'm not entirely sure how long it is. I just know that from looking at certain clips that in terms of doing the whole review process, it's not looking to be that kind of a longer review. It's just that there wasn't a lot to talk about for this film, that with these reviews, I kind of want to stay away from spoilery territory. Even though this film did come out in 2014, it's just it was a shit film. There's just no walking around it. It was a shit film. I didn't like it in 2014, and I sure as hell did not like it now in 2021. So hopefully the next movie that I review, it'll be a bit longer. So hopefully you'll come back next week for that one. So thank you all for watching. I do hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. There will be links in the description for my two other channels, a Yu-Gi-Oh channel, which right now I'm just posting shorts, as well as the vlog channel, which I post weekly on. So yeah, uh, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you on the next movie review.